Hi, this is Taryn P. Lupo, and I just got back from the Porcupine Freedom Festival. The year is 2015, but it's Porcfest 12. I met someone there that was a traveling storyteller. Now, back in the old days, storytelling was a big profession. People didn't really have TVs and radios, and professional storytellers were very respected. Over the years, it's kind of died off, and not many people know about it. They still have some festivals in the South for storytelling, but I hadn't actually met one. This guy, Salem, which I'm about to introduce you to, walks around the country with a whiteboard. People tell him his story. He has a whiteboard that says, "What's your story?" When they tell him the story, he actually remembers what they say, and then he puts his own fling on it and tells it again. So he collects stories walking around the country. So let me share with you this interesting character. And I don't know how he does it, because I don't think he even takes a breath, stutters, or says The guy just goes straight. Here, take a look.
Howdy, name's Storytelling Salem here, and I'm here to tell you a story today that I call the Columbus Amalgam. But with that, I must be able to at least ask you, do you know what the word amalgam means? Hey, if nay, that's perfectly okay, because I'm going to tell you anyways. Amalgam is essentially the mixed combination of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more things coming together to help create something. For example, bronze is the amalgam of tin and copper coming together to help create bronze. Or a peanut butter jelly sandwich is the amalgam of peanut butter, jelly, bread coming together to help create the sandwich. On that, let's begin our story. You see, I've been traveling across this country, town, city to city, state to state, sitting down at random locations across this nation with a whiteboard in my hand. But instead of my whiteboard saying clap 3 times to activate the traveling storyteller, I typically ask the question of, what's your story? You see, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people would walk on by, not paying a single attention to me or my sign. But that's perfectly fine, for I seek that 1, that 2, that 3, 4, 5 that looked upon my whiteboard and thought to themselves, why not? These are the people I seek, these are the people I desire, and these are the stories that I share with the others. When I was down in Columbus, Ohio, this person came on by. He looked at my whiteboard saying, what's your story? And paused in his tracks. He said not a word. That after a moment or two, I started to dance a little bit with my sign. He looked up at me with a smile and said, am I supposed to respond to the question? And I was like, yeah! I mean, only if you really want to. It's kind of what I do. I go across the nation, listen to people just like you. You want to share your story? And he just looked down at my whiteboard saying, what's your story? And said not a word. That after a moment or two, I started to dance a little bit with my sign. He looked up at me with a chuckle and said, I don't know how to respond to the question. And I told him, that's perfectly fine. If you like, I can give you a hypothetical or help us out. And he said, sure, let's give it a shot. So I said, hypothetically speaking, you see an old red-robed man walking towards us. He's got a cane in his right hand as he's dragging his left foot. He's got crazy white raggedy hair coming down to his kneecaps and an eye like Uncle Ruckus from the Boondocks. And he's just staring at you as he says in an old raspy voice, of the 7.2 billion people upon this planet, in theory, every single one of us comes from a different background, a different history, different experiences that make them. Who are you? Not only just that, but in practice, what makes you? You, I suppose what I'm asking is, what's your story? Hypothetically speaking, of course, how would you respond to this crazy old red-robed man? And this person in Columbus, Ohio, he just looked at my whiteboard saying, what's your story? And said not a word. That after a moment or two, I started to dance a little bit with my sign. He looked up at me with a chuckle and said, how can I respond to this crazy old red-robed man when I look at that same exact world around me and see the same 7.2 billion people here just like me? How can I tell you my individual tale when the only thing I really have going for me is I can easily point and say, I'm not him, I'm not him, I'm not her, I'm not her. And when I look upon my reflection later on that night, I can easily point and laugh and say, that's me. That's me right there. But the question then becomes, is it really for if I put on a completely different pair of perception glasses, if you will, if I look at the world around me as stardust, that this is stardust, that's stardust, that's stardust, I can look at the same exact people before me and say, he's stardust, she's stardust, he's stardust, she's stardust. When I look upon my reflection later on that night, not only is that reflection stardust, but so am I. In that tiny one little instance, I am none of these people and all of these entities at the same exact time. But you see, I'm relying too much upon my senses here. Take, for example, if I go to the comic book store, if you will, and pick up an illusion book, if you will, and I flip page after page after page after page, my eyes get tricked, my eyes get fooled. There, I say it. My eyes lie to me again and again and again and again. And if somebody lies to you even one time, you should probably never really trust them 100% again. So here I am looking at the world before me saying, I'm not him, but I'm also him. I'm not her, but I'm also her. And then I look upon my reflection later on that night, and I'm easily playing that laughing game that goes a bit like, wait a minute, is that really me? Because the moments upon perception is not the same moments as understanding. And that tiny little difference between now and now. Am I something more? Am I something different? Am I just a being who's constantly justifying to itself the consistency of what I see happening right there before me? He paused for a moment and said not a word, that after another moment or two of silence, I started to dance a little bit more with my whiteboard. He looked up at me with a smile and said, I think I got it. So I asked him, what'd you get? I think I got my story, he said. So I asked him, what's your story? My story, he said, is that I am an amalgam. I am my mother, my father, my brother, my sister, my cousins, my neighbors, my uncles, my aunts, my professors, my teachers, my babysitters, and nannies, and hey, every single stranger I've ever really met coming together to help create one. I am from this moment, my entire history, my entire past coming together to constitute me. I am every open door I've ever chosen to walk through and every closed door I chose not to. I'm every open path that I've made my own and path that I chose to follow coming together to help create me right here, right now. But you see, there's an issue. Because this now is not the same as this now. This now is completely different than this now because this now didn't involve this clap where this now did. Therefore, if I look upon my entire history, I can easily decipher that it's ever filled of ever constant changing now. It's coming together to help create me now. Therefore, I can easily say I am an ever constant changing amalgam. That on some days I am such an American amalgam that when somebody screams America, I'm the first to go, heck yeah! But then on other days he continues to say is that I'm also the amalgam of my Palestinian mother and my Israeli father, that whenever I look upon American international politics on the television, my hand will simply palm my face as I say, why? But then on other days, as he started to conclude to say is that I'm also the amalgam of a sci-fi nerd. I will go to the same comic book store weekend after weekend after weekend after weekend, reading sci-fi book after sci-fi book of the potential future to be, to say that one day I'm riding a hoverboard through the crowded streets of Columbus one day, or getting into my hovercraft and pressing warp speed through a wormhole to a whole other galaxy, or even more as I look upon my ship's crew and ask, shall we go to Saturn, Jupiter, or Mars today? My story concluded is that from this moment forward, I am my entire future, anything I wish to be, anything I desire to be, cultivates together to help create me. I am every open door I will ever choose to walk through and every closed door I will choose not to. I'm every open path that I make my own and path that I choose to follow coming together to help create me right here, right now. For can't you see? For tomorrow is yesterday. I'm but never constant changing amalgam. I'm just trying to make sense of what it means to point and laugh and say, hey man, that's me. And then he got up and said, thanks for listening before walking away. And there I sat still holding my sign asking people, what's your story? And that's chapter 2 of a book called The Listening Post Across America Chronicles presents What's Your Story? The Red Robe Tales. Or just look me up on Facebook called Storytelling Salem and you can find out more there.
Thanks for watching. I've got some more Porcfest stories coming up. You can check them out over here. Eventually I'll get those up, and remember to subscribe, like this channel, and also share it. Give it a little thumbs up. Thanks.